Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave truth through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Job Shop USA. My name is Keith, and we're here in my shop once again. All right, we're back on Pearl, and we're working the power shaft or the input shaft from the clutch side out here to the brake side in here. And actually, the shifter is part of the problem. It was modified because it had an issue at one time and it never was right, or it appears that it is not something I want to put back in there. Okay, so just before you came in, I was playing around with the seal, so I put the small seal in here, finished tightening up that gland. All right, here's the large seal, and we're still printing some of these and we're still doing some of our tests, but we wanted to actually put them in here. And we're playing with the handles as well. Okay, it's to that surface right there. I'm not sure if that's going to be adequate. We'll be testing seal capabilities and all of that. I wanted to work the handle, so we reamed this one out and kind of positioning that second rod. We don't have the keeper on the second rod, and the first rod is, they're both floating in there. They're both connected to the yoke, but they're both floating in there. So put the taper pin in there, and now I can shift that back and forth. And now when it comes time to changing or maintaining these seals, which these used to be wick packing that was wound in there and then put in almost like a shaft seal on a boat. All right, so you need to access that and you need to access that. So the handle should be able to come on and up. Now there's a Woodruff key in there. I haven't cleared out the Woodruff key, and I don't have the taper pin that's for this is in the parts cleaner right now. So And I haven't reamed the hole or anything else. And that's anytime you reassemble everything, you need to clean out the reamed hole, and the taper pin should fit right in there, and then a light tap fit. And that's all you need to actually fit that. So you should be able to pull the pin out, pull that right off, change or work the packing, put that back on, put your roll pin in, and be able to keep going. And you shouldn't have hammer marks, peen marks all over here, probably screwdriver marks all over here, and 10 coats of paint on there. Oh, that's how I got it. I have cleaned up the input shaft, and I assembled the bearings. This piece here is the spacer that fits in here, and that actually spaces off this bearing there. There's another sleeve that goes on right here. This is where the seal is to the outside, into this area here. Your clutch floats, and your pulley system all floats out here. This keyway has a little bit of pecker tracks on the leading edge up here, but I think it's going to be perfectly fine, and I'm not going to worry about that. This other end was perfectly fine as well. And then it has a key that actually ties in hard there, because this is a slider. This is where the cone comes in on the back side of this bearing race is already mounted in here. This is the race for the other end over here. So that clutch cone assembly, which we're going to be getting to here in a minute, works on this area right in here. And this is the pivot right here for that. All right, let me slip this gear assembly into position here. There we go. It's got to be just right. Okay, I'm going to slide this race on, or into the bore. All right, push it all the way in. All right, nice. This is the cap. I don't have the seal in here because we want to do all of our fits before that. And I grabbed the original gasket on here, and I'm going to assemble this with that, and we're going to see what we have for in play on that shaft as well, and get the feel of this shaft in place. Okay, I got 2 bolts tightened up. Okay, we'll put the indicator on there and we'll check that in a second. Right now, I'm curious, I'm looking down, and real good alignment on those gears. Keeping everything in exactly the same spot. All right, I'm going to come around that side so we can watch the shifter work. Okay, I got one hand on this shaft here. I forget which way the rotation is here, but we'll, okay. Okay, I can tell already this is the right rotation. See how that cog comes right in there. Nice. Looking good with more than one shaft in there already, huh? Okay, looking down in there with my phone, and I'm grabbing the shaft over here and I'm pulling in and out. I'm getting a thou and a half. Now I'll probably set up and get my pry bar, and I'll see what the pry bar, see what I can get, because I'm only doing this by hand right now. But I got at least 1,000s to play with in there, and I know that that shim or that paper gasket I got in there is 10,000s. We're looking at the clutch side. The belts come up and go around the pulley, and then the clutch slides in and out here, and is controlled by the rod that comes out of the center here. Here's the rod. This is the threaded end that protrudes out. Okay, and of course we know on the other end, the piece we're replacing, or part of the collection of parts we're replacing, is the center hub right here. And I assembled it on here because I needed to go ahead and figure out, we have this in the lathe and we're about ready to part it off. And I believe that this end of the part has been modified so much that it's actually shortened. That rod is in its, that rod, I got the dowel pin in, which holds that inner sleeve to the outer part, and that rod in its original position. And the end of that rod to the face here is 3 inches. So we're going to be planning on making our part at least 3 inches long. So this actually comes through the front. I got to move my indicator here. That rod comes through there, and when the lever is shifted, that draws in or pops out on the clutch. Okay, and there's a series of nuts right here that adjust the clutch end, and the other end is controlled by the engagement of the brake into the hub. Also, if you look back on our other video, these threads were very, very hard for that nut to come off of the end here when I was taking the clutch off. And I had an issue with it. And these threads are stretched. You can actually feel the difference. There's a skinny section of threads right in here, and you can feel them fat. You go like this and you can feel that they are stretched right there. And a nut, it really, even a regular nut threads on there with difficulty. So I'm remaking that rod as well. I purchased a piece of 1045 ground and polished, and that's what I'm going to use. So we put this in here on. Now it's open through the whole bore, but there is a bushing right there, oilite bushing. Excess play right there. We might as well take care of it. Okay, so we got to pull that bushing out of there. Okay, I reached in there with my scribe to feel if there was an area in behind there. And I can feel that there is an area in behind that bushing that I can get a little lip in there. Because I want to knock the thing out. I don't want to have to set it up and bore it out. All right, I created a little foot on a 3/16 rod. It's just a 1/2 inch diameter round, and we'll be able to put that right in the bore and then drop it right behind the bearing, and then we should be able to take our rod and come right up against there, okay? And then we should be able to give our rod a tap with our rawhide mallet here. Now we got to find out where that went. Okay, I'm learning it helps if you actually hold that straight. All right. All right, got the bushing out. I was just looking at this little groove or whatever in here, and it just happens to be like a score in there because I just measured this diameter here and that diameter right there. So we're looking at 680 on both of those, and I'm reading about 682, 682 and a half on the outside of the bushing. So it's not a stock item. If I had one, it'd be 1/2 inch ID and it'd be 5/8 or 3/4 on the OD. We're gonna go see if we got one. If we got one on 3/4 OD, then we can just turn the OD of it to fit that press fit. We want to put that back in there. I ordered one of these in 3/4 diameter, and I'll just turn down the OD to match what we need to press back in there. So that'll be here tomorrow. So we've got the shifting cog. This is the diameter the pads go into the cone. The shifting forks, we're happy with this feeling in here. Just enough play. Couple thousand side to side. We added the extra length in here. We have plenty on the bore. We're gonna make the thing a full 3 inches long. And even if this is slightly tapered off to the backside like that, it wouldn't hurt anything. It'll accent a little bit, but it won't take any more strength away from it. And we won't have a weak point on the on that side of the shifting. You know, this is what they had. You had a lot of motion in there before you even made an engagement. Okay, we're about ready to part that off. We're going to finish the bore in another setup because up here close here, this is 3 inches long. I want that bore right on the money. And I know this old lathe here won't give me that right on the money. I might have a 1.5 taper between 3 inches right here at this point. We have got our brake shoe in the vise here, and we're going to be filing off the inside flared part of the rivet and then tapping them out. We're removing the shoe from the outside of the housing here. This is just a really coarse file. These are just brass rivets. The groove I'm filing in is just a cast groove. It is for access to peen over the rivets. This is just a 1/8 straight little punch that I can reach in here at an angle. There we go. Just got a head on it. It's just a tube rivet, the right length. All right, we're going to remove the rest of them. Some of the times, people will try to over adjust or go past the adjustment settings on something because they're not going to go through the effort of actually replacing or rebuilding items such as this brake shoe assembly. Back in the day, you could probably order this part. Hey, that's all of them. Okay, this piece should come off. Okay, there it is. And I knew that was square. The taper's all into this piece here. We also punch marked right there where the split line was. Okay, we're gonna look at this material real close. We're gonna see if it's metal impregnated or not, and that's gonna make a decision on the materials that we're gonna replace this with. All right, we want to order up a piece. We knew that this had a little chip in it right there. Other than that, she was going down into the cone pretty far. We're gonna make her all brandy new again. Okay, I pushed the back face against the belt sander, and then I went in on real bright light, but you can tell from here there's no metal in that. But I did take a magnifying glass and gave it a good search around the ring there that was freshly sanded. And you would normally see a little bit of brass, what looks like wire bronze particles into the material if it was metal impregnated. Okay, so I'm going to say that this is not metal impregnated material. I've set up a spider with just 3 round slugs slid into where the Allen hole goes in for the jaw bolt on the inside there, and that's just a aluminum ring that I've tightened down onto so that it would hold the jaws out in the right position of tension to do the grinding of the inside of the jaws. And that's what I'm doing. I'm grinding the inside of the jaws. I wanted to get the 3 jaw set up on here, and with leaving or losing the Rutland until I get the Monarch all done, I need to have some kind of closeness on a 3 jaw. And I knew that these jaws were quite bad. That the last time I ground the center of these jaws was when I bought the lathe back in 1994, late 94. I received this lathe, and then once I got it up and running, I took a pneumatic whizzy wheel with a grinder stone on it, hose clamped it to a boring bar, and that's how I actually ground the chuck jaws back in 1994. And it's this many years later, and I'm finally truing them up. Now, earlier today, I actually took the 3 jaw and took it completely apart, cleaned it, put it back together, and mounted it on here nice and clean. It was slightly bell mouth, and one jaw was making contact before the rest of them, or the other 2, I should say. It's getting pretty close, but 2 of the jaws actually have a little center blem in the center of the jaw, right about out here at the end. That last little 3/4 of an inch on the end there. So, and that's the goal. We want the nose of the jaws to be 100%. We're pretty much 100% the rest of the way. We're going to stop and take a look at it when it gets done with this cut. Okay, we're looking in on the jaw that cleaned up the most so far. All right, and it's pretty good all the way down, into here, and just a very little tiny bit left right there. Now the next one, you can see you have a little bit of opening right there, and also way down at the end there in the center. And then the next one, that's even more. That last little rib right down there, and you can see just a little tiny bit right in there when the light hits it right. Okay, I think I'm going to take my Sharpie and I'm going to color a couple of those areas right there so that I can okay, a little sharp them here, and that'll make it more pronounced. That one's pretty clean all the way except for that nose piece there. I'm going to be happy with the grind on these jaws here. All right, let's pull our grinder and pull our ring here, clean up our abrasive off the lathe, and let's check a part running in it. Let's take our spider apart here. That was just an aluminum ring, and these were just 3/4 slugs that happen to fit into where these Allen recesses go. And it's pretty simple just to keep that. In fact, actually, I'm gonna keep this in a close by situation there, because I don't think I want to let my jaws go as long as they had the last time, which was the only time back in 1995. Okay. That looks pretty good. Everything is cylindrical or round to each other on this part here, and we'll just go ahead and see what we have here. Okay, it's running pretty darn true compared to what it was. It was like about 5-7 thousandths on the average, and I can get something to run within 1,000ths right now. Hey, for this old beast here, I'm you know, the scroll, the gears, everything is worn out on it, so great improvement. At least I can hog off this side right here, out this material. I have another setup over in the K&T that I'm going to do the taper of the cup and the taper of the brake shoe itself. All right, that was just a little bit of a sidetrack on our project, but it's something that had to be done. Sometimes you got to tune up your own equipment, and that chuck definitely needed some some maintenance and attention. So that's what I gave it today. Now I can go ahead and I can hog out the center of that cup and get it ready. And then we're going to set up the mill, both mills, K&T and Buffy, so that we can do some Woodruff keys and some taper boring and turning over on the K&T. All right, thanks for stopping by Job Shop USA, and till next time, get her done.